sacred ritual anointed him the first supreme ruler, an event that marked the founding of the Khmer Empire. This hallowed spot had deep religious and political significance for the Khmer and is still considered holy by modern Cambodians. This river was a source of the ingenious water system that was key to the wealth and success of the entire region. The religion of the early Khmer Empire was Hinduism, and this sacred mountain is richly carved with images of Hindu deities, including Vishnu. The river here flows over other sacred icons. 1,000 linga rise from the riverbed. Carved over the centuries during the dry seasons, these stone phalluses are symbols of fertility and the male creative force. The corresponding female symbol is a yoni, a vessel shape that represents feminine creative energy. The linga is often placed upon the yoni. Together, the two forms symbolize the indivisible connection between male and female, the union from which all life springs. Waters that washed over these sacred stone carvings were thought to carry fertility and abundance to the lands of the empire. Metaphorically, these waters also conveyed the power of the king throughout his kingdom. A king's power was also expressed by monumental architectural structures. It was customary for a Khmer ruler to build one or more temples during his reign, usually dedicated to the god Vishnu. The third Khmer king, Indravarman, built this red brick temple in 879 AD. It's called Priako, and he built it in honor of his ancestors. Bindaya Sri Temple was built more than a century later. Its name means Citadel of Beauty. Its famous carvings are still considered among the highest achievements of Khmer art. The 9th century Baekong Temple, with its massive moat, may have inspired Suryavarman II. When it came time for the newly crowned king to begin planning for his temple, he decided to create a structure that would exceed all other temples in both size and grandeur. He entrusted this ambitious undertaking to the same Brahmin priest who helped him take the throne. Divakara Pandita would oversee the planning and construction of Angkor Wat. Within the city of Angkor, Suryavarman's temple would follow the customary structure of other Khmer shrines. Khmer temples represent the mythical Mount Meru, the center of the universe and home of the gods according to Hindu cosmology. But the temple Suryavarman planned was on a scale that would dwarf all other temples anywhere in the world. A scale that would tax every ounce of skill, ingenuity, and technology of his entire empire. Think about this. In medieval Europe, at around the same time, people were building cathedrals that took centuries to complete. Meanwhile, here in Asia, the builders of Angkor Wat somehow created a temple that was far larger and in some ways more complicated in less than 4 decades. So how'd they do it? Well, archaeologists and engineers have been trying to solve the mysteries of Angkor Wat's construction since the 19th century, and they've managed to uncover some, but not all of its secrets. It was around the year 1120 AD when an army of construction workers took on what must have seemed like mission impossible. On a swampy forest plain, they would build the largest sacred structure in the known world. Using only simple tools, workers prepare the site, digging the foundation in the midst of a dense jungle. clue to exactly how they prepared the foundation was discovered in the nearby Bayon Temple, built several decades after Angkor Wat. In this carving, laborers work side by side, beating the ground with long wooden poles. It's believed the relief illustrates how the builders solved one of the most vexing problems of Angkor Wat's construction. Workers used sticks to tamp down and compact the wet soil, creating a more suitable foundation. They dug a massive hole in the ground 33 feet deep, filled it with layers of sand, pebbles, and clay, and compacted it until it was hard. This allowed excess water to drain and also stabilize the surface. It was only after the foundation was laid that the structure's elaborate design was finalized. The massive compound would be almost a square mile and would be surrounded by a moat 660 feet wide. Only a ruler with Suryavarman II's might, power, and vision could have imagined a building constructed on this grand a scale. It is estimated the building required more than 5 million tons of raw materials. Where did the ancient temple builders mine such a tremendous amount of stone? Gray sandstone was used to build Angkor Wat. It was quarried from Phnom Kulen, a mountain over 24 miles northeast of the site. The sacred mountain of Phnom Kulen proved a great resource for the builders of Angkor Wat. The mountain's base is a massive 22-mile-long belt of sandstone, a plentiful source of high-quality building material. But how did the ancient workers excavate all that rock? They used iron rods with sharp ends and dug a groove the size of the block they wanted to remove. Then they would place a wedge between the sedimentary layers where it's easy to break the rock. Or in some cases, several men worked together, pounding the rock and breaking it in order to pry it loose. With only hand tools, workers removed vast amounts of rock from the mountain. It is estimated that it took a stone cutter at least 10 days just to carve a groove around one block of stone weighing more than a ton. After the groove was carved, a wedge was placed in the groove so the rock could be separated. It took a workforce of thousands to cut just a few hundred blocks of stone each day. More than 600,000 high-quality sandstone blocks were used in the construction of Angkor Wat. 5 million tons of sandstone. Because the builders used no mortar, blocks had to be precisely cut with utterly smooth surfaces. A system lifted a stone block just slightly above another stone, and then workers pushed it back and forth in order to grind the two surfaces and make it smooth. Another relief in Bayon Temple has a detailed depiction of how this method worked. Workers used poles and ropes to lift one stone just above another. Then the top stone was rubbed back and forth against the stone below. After thousands of repetitions, the block obtained a smooth surface. Exactly which Phnom Kulen quarry the stones came from remains a mystery. But a Japanese research team from Waseda University recently tested the stone's magnetic properties. Their findings reveal each stone's approximate age and geological distribution. But matching the stones back to a particular place or quarry in this mountainous belt is not simple or safe. Magnetic susceptibility is the inclination of rock to be drawn to a magnet. By measuring this, we can tell that they used 7 different quarries during the various different ages. Unfortunately, it's impossible to conduct research to find the exact location of the quarries in Phnom Kulen because the place is littered with mines. But according to research conducted by the French School of the Far East, there were numerous quarries at Phnom Kulen. Landmines left from Cambodia's 20th century civil war still litter the countryside, making research dangerous. Although the exact quarry locations are unknown, testing reveals that stone used in 30 Angkor area temples came from 7 different Phnom Kulen quarries. However, nearly all of the stones of the Angkor Wat temple have magnetic levels of around 3. This means that the stones used to build the Angkor Wat temple almost certainly came from a single quarry in the Mount Kulen region. The massive cut stones were transported over 25 miles to Angkor using elephants as well as slave labor. Rods were drilled into the huge blocks so they could be pushed and pulled. Laborers also used bamboo rafts to float the stone on a labyrinth of canals and rivers. A river called the Siem Reap flows most of the way to the building site and then connects to a large natural lake just south of Angkor. After a journey of several weeks, they enter the last canal, and the rafts reach their final destination at Angkor Wat. Over the 37 years it took to build the temple, experts estimate that at least 20,000 people a day were needed. A throng of people who had to be transported, housed, and fed. It was a huge workforce by 12th century standards. This great labor force suggests the city as a whole also had a large population. But how large? One clue comes from a nearby temple, built later the same century. According to an inscription in Preah Khan, 97,480 village personnel were assigned to the smaller temple, while 100,000 farmers and slaves contributed to the temple's maintenance. Based on this, experts estimate that the population of the Khmer capital was at least 700,000. This means Angkor's population probably exceeded that of all 12th century cities. Paris had only 100,000 people at the time, and London had just 70,000. Only China's Kaifeng city was similar in size. One secret to how Angkor supported this large population lies in an ingenious system of waterways. Then, as now, agriculture centered on rice grown on the Angkor Plain. In addition to rice, other grains, fruits, and vegetables were also cultivated, just as they are today. The success of this economy depended on the huge Lake Tonle Sap, just south of ancient Angkor. Irrigation canals assured one or more harvests, even in drought years.